Welcome everybody back here at Veil of Sound. By now, this should not be a surprise. On Friday, Pelagic is releasing a new record. And of course, the Tuesday before, we release another video. And as we already talked with Thomas from Norna, I thought like, okay, they are doing their split release with Legbiter. Let's get to know those guys a little bit more. So I'm very, very thankful that I have Rikard Nordstrom here on the show. So Rikard, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. Glad to be here.
First thing we always do here on the Veil of Sound is we always pluck a band that we think deserves more attention, that we would like to push a little more. And I always try to go for something that is related to the artist, sound-wise or with any other connection. And you don't have to do that. It's just my little spleen. I would like to pluck an American hardcore band that a lot of people know, a lot of people like, but still not enough people listen to, I would say. Rival Schools.
Oh, yeah.
We'll come to that also in a moment. And now your chance to pluck a band.
A good one. Can I do some Pelagic colleagues or?
Of course you can, as long as you don't do any shameless self-promotion.
Exactly. I have to go with the Barons then.
Oh yeah.
Because,
Johan.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you had an on, so.
We had a written interview with Johan.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Way back.
Way back.
5 years, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. Johan. And then Blessings and Barons and his solo stuff. Did I forget something?
I think so. Yeah, we're actually playing with Blessings in May. So that's going to be really fun. I'm going to meet the guys. So it's going to be a very nice combination for a gig, I think, us and Blessings. So it's going to be cool. So if anyone has their way past Stockholm in May, they can catch us live with Blessings.
Small club, big club?
Smaller club. I don't know the exact capacity, but not an arena style. Unfortunately,
it sounds like a gig that needs to be intimate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would work great.
And I mean, of course, if we're talking about hardcore, hardcore and anything bigger than a 500 capacity place is not hardcore anymore.
Yeah, it's going to feel a bit weird, I think, with that kind of music.
Yeah, but, I've seen Sick of It All play in front of 2,000 people. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
but that's also Sick of It All, right?
I saw Turnstile a couple of summers ago. They played in Stockholm at this big outdoors festival. Mm-hmm. Also felt a little weird because when you watch a band like that, you want it to be loud and intense, but on an outdoor venue, the sound kind of disappears a bit. So it felt almost like listening to radio, but it was cool anyways. But it's the same, when the exact same night that we have the Blessings gig here in Stockholm, Viagra Boys is also playing. So
okay.
So we'll see if anyone comes to our gig. But
a little conflict of interest.
Exactly.
But would you also say that in general, hardcore shows need, first of all, indoors so that you could smell the sweat? And second of all, in a way, it needs to be small, right? I mean, what is the sense behind it? Yeah, get rid of some of your inner demons. And I mean, you can't do that in front of a 2,000 people crowd or inside of a 2,000 people crowd.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe it's because that's the way we kind of grew up with that scene in the 90s. We were used to the smaller, more compact and intense venues when we were really standing next to each other and smelling.
Yeah, the youth clubs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, to also make it clear to our audience, Rikard is maybe not the most well-known musician outside of Sweden, but he's been part of probably the most well-known hardcore scene in all of Northern Europe, of Umeå hardcore scene. And I mean, everybody who follows the Veil of Sound knows that we first of all love that, and Second of all, we've already had plenty of interviews with people from that scene. Johannes Kaltofluna, Thomas from Breach, Dennis from Refuse. So yeah, we have a lot of them. And I'm also happy that we now have Legbiter here, because you are doing for lack of a better word, a very 90s post-hardcore thing, if I may say so.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, you could now say, "Oh, we're New York hardcore people."
Yeah, we're not. I think we're closer to post-hardcore than like Biohazard, the New York hardcore.
You already got what I meant, right? Yeah. But is that also something that you not only listened to back in the day, but that you maybe still listen to nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always come back to stuff like that, and regarding the Umeå scene, I wasn't born in Umeå and grew up there. I grew up much further north than Umeå, so I moved down to Umeå when in the late 90s to study at the university. But Umeå was kind of the hub for alternative music and hardcore, of course, in the 90s. So the few of us that listened to hardcore in my small town, far north, like 3 hours from Umeå, we always took the bus down to Umeå and went to the hardcore shows down there, of course. So you were kind of part of that scene and went to the gigs there. But for me and Thomas, for example, is not from Umeå originally. We both grew up in the two cities that's a couple of hours driving from Umeå. So. Yeah. But that's where all the great gigs, of course, took place, was in Umeå. So, of course, Thomas' band Breach played there a lot. So we went down to see them. And, of course, we went down to see, I don't know, Earth Crisis, Snapcase, or whatever, that all the American big bands that came there also. So, and yeah, I guess you always come back to that kind of music. Sometimes you just have to listen to, I have to go back and listen to Quicksand, Phaser or whatever. So but also it's kind of ingrained in the DNA, I guess, the stuff that you grew up with. It's hard not to, when you sit down and write some riffs or whatever, it's hard to, it doesn't, it always comes back, in a sense, I guess, when we start with music, with a new song, perhaps it's kind of impossible to avoid nowadays in a way. Yeah. So I don't know why, but I guess it's the stuff that you kind of grew up with, and then you come back to it now and then, and then you listen to it and stuff, and of course you listen to new stuff also, but it's always there in the background, kind of in your DNA, I guess, the music you grew up with.
Definitely is. Definitely is.
But it's not like a super conscious choice that we have to sound like back in the days. It's just when we started the band, we just wanted to make we're a couple of old friends and we want to get back playing together and see each other again, just hang out. And the music was like, well, it's going to be heavy and it's going to be guitars. We didn't have like a certain plan to sound like in a certain way. It's just naturally came out like that.
And it's interesting that you say that, because that's also something that I wrote down for myself. I mean, like, you guys have been making music for, more or less 30 years in different bands with different people. Most of the time it was hardcore. And if we're honest, I mean, like, none of it made it really huge. I mean, like, I knew Quagmire. I have heard and listened to Traktor. But a lot of the other bands that are listed in your bio were bands that I also had to look up. Now you're back at it. You've already mentioned it. You want to get back together, do some music. Was that also like the most driving force behind it? Do something with your friends? Fuck success, but like, let's make some music for ourselves?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of... I think what's most important for us is to just get together and create something together. It's kind of that part that's the most, I don't know, it's very rewarding to, like, you're a bunch of friends that go into a rehearsal space with just a blank page. and you can come out on the other end with something you have created together. You have been creative in this small space during this just a few hours, and you come out on the other end and you have created something together. I think that's kind of what we wanted to get back in our lives somehow. But and if people likes it, it's a huge bonus, and we're very happy to hear that. But I think the most important part was just to have that creative space in your life again, and so to kind of break up the monotony of just going to work, and making dinner, and watch streaming, and then go to bed, and then do it again. You have to have something creative in your life,
kind of outlet,
for me at least.
I totally get that.
It can be writing, it can be making podcasts, it can be making music. But I think that's super important to have in life, that creative outlet.
And I think with a lot of people our age, it's also, once again, I mean, like you have been doing that for a lot of decades, but it's also giving back something to a scene that was always some kind of comfort, I would guess.
Yeah.
So absolutely. You are now doing this split with Norna, a band that might be one of the hugest bands when it comes to sound. Their sound is massive. It sounds as if they could shake the Himalayas.
Absolutely. And there are just 3 of them.
Yeah, but you're also just 4. But they're just 3, and they sound as if they're 30.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they don't even use that many amps. If anybody ever has seen a Norna show, it's not as if the guys are running it through 10 amps and 20 speakers. It's just massive. You know, when Spinal Tap did it to 11, Norna does it to 15. That's just weird.
Yeah. Well, it's nowhere close like Sun or something like that.
Yeah, but
But I think they can manage with just the 3 of them, and they have some super sort of magic, because I know they are pretty smart when it comes to making that sound bigger and using like bass amps or whatever. I don't know how they do it, but
if anybody wants to know, go back to our interview with Norna, and you will find out. We have someone from the inside explaining how they do it. And it will also provide the link underneath this interview. Interestingly, both bands, Legbiter and Norna, would very quickly be summarized under post-hardcore. Very, very different bands.
Yeah.
So what for you is post-hardcore?
Well, for me, I guess post-hardcore is, I mean, you can ask anyone and they will have their own version of what post-hardcore is. But for me, it's kind of if you can call it, the second wave of hardcore that came after like the initial 80s hardcore with Youth of Today and Minor Threat and stuff like that. And for me, that kind of second wave, or what you can call it, in the early 90s is kind of what I see as post-hardcore. The bands that came after, like Quicksand, for example, and the bands that Walter was in and so on. That's more of kind of the post-hardcore for me, and the kind of refining of that initial sound of hardcore, like maybe tone down the fast parts and try something else, something mid-tempo, and maybe have lyrics about something else, or different kinds of riff and so on. So it's kind of that second wave, or maybe it's the third wave. I don't know.
Depends on when you let it start, right?
Exactly.
If you see Gorilla Biscuits and Youth of Today as the second wave, or Bolt and Burn, then with the bands that you have mentioned, then it's the third one, but it depends on where you start. What I always associate with post-hardcore, and I'm also very much in the vein of what you are thinking of, to me, it is very often a sound that is more angular than thick. It is sharper instead of harder. And I hear a lot of those things in Legbiter. There are very many angular, sharp twists, turns. And here I would like to come back to Norna. Again, a very, very different band. They're still subsummarized under post-hardcore. But isn't that also the most appealing thing about doing a split? That you have two bands, same circle of friends, same label now, being put into the same box, but being able to show, okay, it might be the same box, but we're standing in very different corners.
Yeah, absolutely. I love those kinds of splits when you have two bands that sound quite not as like each other, but have like maybe a common ground somewhere that you maybe they're not like exactly the same in sound, but they have something in the background that you can hear something that is in common in that way. And I think maybe with Norna, it's I think me and Thomas listened a lot to the same kind of music in the like mid 90s and later 90s when I think we all were pretty much into kind of noise rocky stuff from Chicago, like Jesus Lizard and Shellac and stuff like that. And I think you still can hear a bit of that also in our music because that's something that we both loved. And I think you can still hear that in Norna too. You kind of have those dissonant and angular and weird riffs going on there also. So I think there's a similarity in Legbiter and Norna, even though we sound quite different in that way. We have more traditional song structures with verse, chorus, verse, and more normal singing and stuff like that. But you still can hear somewhere there's common ground somewhere between also.
It's very interesting that you say dissonance, because that is what I also wrote down for myself. Dissonance is the key. That's what I wrote down. It's the thing that unites and connects both sides of the record. Now, as I said, I had to do my research as usual. For everybody out there, that was the reason why I was late to this interview, and I have to thank Rikard for staying around.
No worries.
You managed something with this release that not a lot of bands do. You basically doubled the number of songs you've published.
Yeah, that's true. So
the last release was Totes Meer. For everybody out there, it's like the Dead Sea.
Exactly.
In English. I hope you don't mind me asking, but Totes Meer was released in September 2018. This one is released in March of 2026. It's 7.5 years later. I know there was a pandemic in between, but that does not explain those 7.5 years.
No.
How come?
Surely doesn't.
Was it life that came in between?
Yeah, I think a lot of that, absolutely. After we released Totes Meer, the title for the German speakers, you recognize it, but the title actually comes from a painting that I saw. I don't remember where. Maybe it was in Germany, but it's a painting of a World War I landscape. It's called Totes Meer. So that's where the title came from. That I think was beautiful in all of its horrible ways. The painting itself. But after Totes Meer, we kind of we had a few gigs. We played some nice gigs with Horndal and Hymn and some great bands. But after that, we kind of started to think in directions of new songs and new releases and stuff like that. But after that, Marco was kind of our original drummer, Marco, who I got to learn in the 90s, and we played together, and then he played in Cult of Luna and all these other kinds of bands. And me and Marco started the band together with Matthias, who I was in a hardcore band in the 90s with also. The three of us started the band, and we released Totes Meer. We played a bit, but after that we kind of there's a lot of live stuff that happened, mostly positive stuff. It was just a lot of kids that came into the picture. Marco got 2 kids, and Matthias had 2 kids, and so on. And then COVID happened, and we were a very split band geographically. So Marco, our first drummer, lives down in Malmö, and me and Matthias lives up in Stockholm. So during that time, we could not rehearse at all. We didn't want to travel between the cities and so on. And after that, also, of course, Marco got involved with Barons, and he felt that he didn't have time doing several bands at once. So he just decided to focus more on Barons. And Matthias also didn't have time to continue to play. So the guys left were actually me and our original bass player, Victor. So, but we kind of felt that we wanted to continue, and we had some great stuff going on, some new songs and stuff like that. So we have already met at that time. We met our guitarist Jonas, who actually played drums. He filled in with Marco in Marco's shoes. So he is one of those guys who can play pretty much everything in the band better than us. So he plays both drums and guitar and so on, and can sing also. So he could jump in on the drums together instead of Marco, and we went up to record the Worms EP that you can listen to on the Norna split. So that's the songs we recorded. So and those, of course, we started to work on some time ago, because that's more than a year ago now that we went into the studio to record those. Mm-hmm. So it's mostly just not getting burned out, having more kids, having jobs and stuff like that. So it's nothing weirder than that. So it's just sometimes just gets too much for people to juggle around several other bands and so on. So, but we still have a lot of contact, me and Marco was actually the one who sent our stuff to Robin at Pelagic when he heard the new stuff. So he's actually the one who got us in on the Pelagic Records. So that's very cool. So no, it's nothing weird that happened. It's just life. It's just life, and then you get together again, and it's everything all good. Yeah.
And who then came up with the idea for the split?
Well, last year when we recorded this EP at the Overlook Studios, which is like an hour and a half from Stockholm up north. We recorded it there. It's a guy called William who has a nice studio there in like an old church. And we Magnus from Cult of Luna mastered it, and then we were like kind of we just thinking we should release this ourselves. So we didn't have any plans to send it to someone else, actually. But at the time, Marco was like, "Can you send me the new stuff? I want to hear it." And I was, "Yeah, sure." And Marco was like, "Oh, this is awesome. You should. Can I send this to Pelagic?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" We hadn't planned to actually, but we were planning to release it ourselves on streaming. So, and Robin got back to us, and he was like, "Yeah, this is awesome, guys. Can we release it on Pelagic?" So, and we started to just talk back and forth about how to release it, because an EP is kind of a weird format to release for for a company. It's kind of, we were talking about maybe we should do like a 7-inch with the songs we like the most, or should we do like a 10-inch or whatever. And then at the same time, Robin was like, "Well, Norna is actually looking to release a few new songs. So I think a split with Norna could be a cool combination with like Legbiter and Norna." We talked about like a Breach Fireside kind of vibe with a more melodic band and a heavier band, but kind of a common ground in between. So we were sure, that sounds cool. I love splits, so it's a fun thing to have, and absolutely we were on it right away. So, and then of course he had to fit it in the whole Pelagic schedule, so it didn't get released until this month. So, but we're happy it's out now, and I think it's a cool way to promote both bands. Absolutely.
I have 2 more questions before we go into the infamous quickfire round at the end. The first one is pretty easy, and I hope you don't mind me asking. when listening to the Legbiter songs, those 13 minutes all in all, I have a feeling as if, okay, first of all, one notices that these guys have not been doing this for the first time. It's not their debut recording ever, or the first time in the record studio. But I also have a feeling as if we are listening to a quartet that is very good on cutting off stuff. The songs always feel perfectly long. Even there is a track longer than 5 minutes and it still doesn't feel like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
How important was the length of the tracks for you? Or maybe also, like trimming down all the fat?
I think that's interesting to hear. I think it's you kind of get better doing that as you mature. I think it's the whole songwriting process is something you have to do over and over and over and over until you have to put your hours in. And I think we're kind of finding our own path there to not have as much excess fat as we originally wanted. So we are better at, killing your darlings principles now. So we can this part is cool, but maybe we don't need it to make the song better. It's just good as it is. So we're not afraid to just have a couple of riffs in a song. If the song is good, maybe we don't need anymore. We don't have to have this super long outro or whatever. But I think sometimes it suits the song, and you should not be afraid to dive into it. But at the same time, with Legbiter, it's just that kind of project where we just want to do like straight on rock songs, basically like verse, chorus, verse for once, because that's what we haven't done in a long time. Kind of just normal rock songs stuff, basically. So it's quite fun to just try that out, try to be a bit more melodic that we've never been before. It's in the 90s there wasn't any melodies, there was just pure screaming. So it's kind of fun to explore that side too. So it's cool that you've noticed that.
And the last thing, if I'm talking about with somebody who just is about to release a split record in a couple of days, in your ideas, what is the best split record ever?
My favorite split is definitely like the first split I got my hands on in the 90s was Nirvana and Jesus Lizard split. I don't remember the exact songs, maybe Puss or something like that, but that's the coolest thing I've heard.
I'll look it up while you are saying. And it's although I know that the Jesus Lizard guys loved the idea, but they were also like, the Nirvana track must have been the Guilt.
That's it.
Puss is the Lizard track. Yeah,
exactly. That was, and I think that's not entirely different from the Norna Legbiter. Not that I'm comparing us, but kind of you have two bands that are noisy and loud and irregular, but in different ways. You have the fantastic melodic side of Nirvana and super harsh side.
I'll give maybe not the best, but one of the best in my opinion is the split by Fantomas and Melt Banana. I love that one. I
saw Melt Banana super early in like the beginning, very early in 2000 at a small venue in Stockholm when they played with Peaches. That was pretty fucking awesome gig back
I can imagine.
Yeah. It sounded like nothing I've ever heard before. I can tell you that.
And as we're talking about splits, that will be the topic of the infamous quickfire round at the end. I will always give you two split records, and you have to choose which one you prefer before you then have to tell me which of the two on that split you've chosen is your favorite.
Cool.
And there is no there is no system behind why I put together this or that. It's just I like all 8 of them, and you just have to decide. Let's start off with one of the oldest and best splits that I can remember, the Faith Void split versus one of my earliest memories, Snapcase and Boys Set Fire.
I have to go with a Snapcase one, I guess. That's I love them when I grew up, so that's I have to go with that one, absolutely.
And would then Snapcase also be your choice among those 2 bands, Snapcase and Boys Set Fire?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw them live a couple of times, and I actually had that fanzine as everyone had back in the 90s, and I did an interview with them also, and I remember them just being a bunch of nice guys who just took a small teenager in, and of course, you can do an interview with us, so yeah, good memories.
I would also choose that split, but as Boys Set Fire is the band that I've seen most out of all bands in my life. More than 2 dozen times. I have to go with Boys Set Fire. Next couple, Page 99 and Majority Rules versus Alkaline Trio and Hot Water Music.
Nice. I think I'll go with Alkaline Trio then. Yeah, a couple of banging tunes, absolutely. Nothing wrong there.
And then Alkaline Trio is also the choice of the 2 bands?
Yeah, I think I go with them, absolutely. It's not a bad split.
Yeah, but the Page 99 and Majority Rules split is also cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
You know, like and if I think 10 years ago, I would also always have chosen Page 99 out of those. Because 10 years ago, I was on a huge Page 99 trip. I don't know. The next 2 are a little different. You have Converge and Agoraphobic Nosebleed versus Coalesce and Napalm Death.
Wow, that's a hard one. Coalesce was one of those bands in the 90s that sounded really different when they came out, and I loved them when they heard them the first time. But I'm a huge fan of Converge, so I have to go with them and also choose Converge on the split. I think they are awesome, and one of those bands that like rekindled my interest a bit in heavier music when I was kind of sick of it. They kind of I don't know, brought back a lot of influences that I love also. I think their newest record is great. I think there's a lot of cool stuff on it, and I think they are incredible players, all of them.
Yeah.
Super cool bass sound, and one of the craziest guitar players out there, and of course one of the best record producers you can have in heavier music also. So just super cool guys. I love them.
Nearly last couple, Kill Your Idols and Modern Life is War versus Touche Amore and La Dispute.
I think I have to go with Touche Amore. A great band, I think, not super far away from what Legbiter is doing, kind of combining heavier stuff and more melodic stuff, and some dissonant, nice riffs and stuff like that. So, yeah, great band. I think I have not seen them live, or have I? I don't remember.
Touche Amore?
Yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe they are on the road again now. I think
they're always very busy.
Always on the road, yeah.
And there is one band that I adore to pieces in general, and who I think did some of the best split, and that is Coalesce, and that's why they're the only ones who I took twice.
Yeah.
So I'll give you Coalesce and the Get Up Kids together as a couple versus Orchid and Jerome's Dream.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I love the Get Up kits too, but I have to go with Coalesce. They were one of a kind and still are. I think they have their own very own unique sound when it came to heavy stuff. So absolutely Coalesce. And they kind of expanded the hardcore world a bit for me when I heard them the first time.
Yeah, because this mathy, noisy,
exactly,
and still very rock and rollish thing about them. I still remember, and I still to this day think that Coalesce might be one of the most underrated hardcore bands ever.
Yeah, they should get out on the road again with Dead Guy or something like that.
Yeah, they wanted to come on the road, but then it turned out that their guitar player, at least once in his life, was a real asshole.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's also sorry because they were supposed to play Roper, where I always go, and I was already seeing Coalesce again after 20-some years, and then no, we're not playing. So I'm hoping for 2027.
Yeah, that would be cool. Absolutely.
Yeah. Rikard, thanks for the details into Legbiter, also into the scene, and of course your cool decisions on the splits I chose. I wish you nothing but the best for the split with Norna, but I do not wish for another 8 years.
No, absolutely not. We're actually full steam now, so we're doing new stuff, and we are aiming to record an album actually this year. So
very good news. Very good news, my friend.
Very much looking forward to that. So just have to sync everything together, and most of all, find a studio that's available.
There's a good studio somewhere in Massachusetts. It's called God City. That might fit your sound.
Yeah, that would be quite cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Rikard,
so we're working on that. Yeah, we're just working away on that at the moment.
Good to hear. Yeah. Rikard, enjoy your time. I'm still hoping that maybe you come to a certain Pelagic festival in August.
I hope so.
I don't want to pinpoint. I'm just saying what I hope. Enjoy the rest of the evening, my friend.
And you too. It's super nice to meet you, and thank you for having us on your pod.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.